Is there going to be a housing crash? This question comes up a lot. People love to talk about it. It's on the media, it's on Facebook. Everyone has their own opinion as, if there is a crash coming. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have some fun with it because I like to use things like data and graphs and charts.
This is a pie chart describing my favorite bars. And this is a bar graph describing my favorite pies. What's going on?
Enough with the charts.
And the graphs.
Really, any visual representation of data.
And things like that to really show you kind of what we can expect to see in the future when it comes to housing prices, as well as just, everything, right? The crash. So first of all, let's talk about the first crash, the first housing crisis that happened. We all know about it. It's the one that happened in 2008. Well, let's first talk about some of the key drivers that caused those things. What caused the first crash? Well, first of all, the mortgage industry at that time was not regulated, at least not nearly enough. The regulations were basically non-existent. Anybody could get a loan back in the day. If you want to have a much more entertaining view on how all that went down, there's a really cool movie called The Big Short. Be sure to check it out. It's much more entertaining than myself. So if you want to kind of hear a little bit about that, it's pretty cool how they explain it, and it's very accurate. It was basically just a bunch of bad loans. Anybody could get them. They were all adjustable rates, zero down, low credit score, garbage loans. Well, fast forward to today, the mortgage industry is very heavily regulated. We have a very strict set of rules when it comes to minimum credit score, down payment, the paperwork we actually need to verify. Back then they were doing stated income loans. So I could call into a mortgage company and say, yep, I make $800,000 a year. I would like to buy this $4 million property. They'd run some numbers. Sounds good. Here you go. Here's your loan. And that was it. Now it's obviously much different. Anyone that has gone through a loan application recently, even though I do make it simple as possible, it is still very heavy regulated and there's a lot of paperwork to do. We need to make sure that you're getting that loan. And anyone who's been through underwriting knows that as well. So let's talk about, now that we have the lending side of things figures out, what else drives home prices. It really comes down to supply and demand. It's that simple. The basic economic lesson for anything, any driver of price is always going to be supply versus demand. How bad do people want it and how much of it is there? So let's take a look at the graphs and some charts, and see what we can find out today. Okay, so here are the graphs and charts. This is the exciting stuff, people. So I apologize in advance for the nerd alert that is going to go down here. So this guy right here, let's take a look at this Cromford demand and Cromford supply. So Cromford's the company that provides this data. It's all public record, but basically this is the supply versus demand. So these blue little dots and lines are the supply. Supply means homes available on the market. Demand, buyers, the red, these are people that want to buy homes or that are buying homes. So let's go back and let's take a look at this big, scary 2008 that we all talk about. Notice anything different about this compared to other sides of the charts? Yes, the supply is way, way up and the demand is way, way down. So we already talked about how bad loans were happening. That is a big part of it, but here is some of the other major things that led up to it. It was kind of the perfect storm of creating things that were going to make a crash happen. Besides the bad loans that were going down, what had happened was we had a very balanced market here. That's what this yellow line here, that 100 number equals normal. Balanced means we have the right amount of buyers, the right amount of sellers, enough homes, enough buyers to basically satisfy the market. This is where we tend to see home prices kind of flat, typically kind of increase a little bit, or again, if demand goes down, the price will also go down. That's just how that works. So as you can see here, we were doing really good, and then all of a sudden, we saw demand, spike up a little bit, and the supply went way down. Actually, we saw a major drop in homes available to purchase. So what did builders decide to do? Well, we need to build a ton of houses. So you can see just between 2005 and 2006, we saw a massive, massive growth of homes available for sale as well as homes being built. Now, at the same time, we had these bad loans happening. So we have the demand dropping off and we have huge supply. So that was the major contributor right there to what happened. So now you see it kind of crosses back over because, homes started to get cheap again. The demand was down. And if we move on over to this graph, this is the annual sales rate. Now, this one is just for Phoenix, the Phoenix, Arizona area. So if you take a look back to the 2005, you can kind of see how they correlate. We saw home prices up. They were up a lot because demand was low, right? So we had lots of people buying because not a lot of demand. See how those two numbers go right inside? And then sales started to drop off because, again, we had way too many homes for sale. So that's how that works. Now, explaining this graph a little bit more, we have the blue here, which is normal home sales, people going into a new build or buying it from a seller. This orange red color, these are homes that are foreclosed on, are people buying foreclosed homes, so buying them from the bank. The light blue here are short sales, so people selling it for less than what they paid for it, less than what they owe, but still coming to an agreement with the bank and the seller, so short sales. So you can see that was major big, right after 08, right after this crash here. We did see sales prices go back up, but again, the types of homes for sale were much different. Fast forward, it kind of evens out. We don't have many foreclosures. I mean, little to none in most cases. And you can see here we have we have more and more sales prices going up. We did have a little bit of a dip here in what is that, about May, April, June of 2020. Well, gee, I wonder what happened during that time. Well, as we all know, it was COVID, right? That kind of freaked people out. So let's go back to our supply versus demand. Oh, would you look at that? A massive drop in demand in the first part of 2020 and a little bit of an uptick on these supplies. So see this squeezing of the numbers. When the two numbers get closer together, that is what is going to drive prices. As these numbers get closer, especially below this normal line, that's going to cause prices to go down. So honestly, if you are waiting for the crash, surprise, it happened already. It happened last year of 2020. That was the best possible time to buy, was right here. Trust me, ask anybody that bought in June of 2020 what they paid for their house and what it's worth today. It's going to be a major difference. Now, the market we have a little bit of a lull right here in this area. Because of COVID, there were lots of economic factors and weird things going on in the world. But now we're kind of back on track, right? I mean, it's still not 100% normal. And anybody that bought the first part of this year, you know what? They may have temporarily overpaid. Now, I use that word temporarily. I don't think that you overpaid and then it's going to crash. It's just going to take you a little bit longer than the people that bought during this time frame to recoup that equity. Because guess what? If we look at this trend, it's still on an overall uptick. In fact, if you go all the way back, 2005, right before the crash, that's about where we are. So wait a minute, if we are where we were right before the crash, doesn't that mean it's going to come crashing back down? Well, no. So what were the factors? The factors were bad loans. The other factors were where did my other graph go? Here we go. The other factor were we had way too many homes. Look at how many homes were available for sale back in that time. Look at the homes we have for sale today. Not near enough. So even though we are coming back down to this normal category, the homes still have not caught back up with that. Now, I don't have the other graph on here because I'm a slacker. No, I'm just kidding. I forgot to put it up here. But the other graph that I wanted to look at was birthing rates. If you look at the birth rates from 1990, which the individuals born in the 90s are now coming of age, 30 years old, about time to buy that house, we were at an all-time high birth. So we have more people ready to buy because there's just more people out there. But again, we don't have enough houses to sell them. So what happens when we have too many people that want to buy and not enough homes? You guessed it, prices are going to continue to increase. Now, again, they kind of went way up on this side right here because of, hang on, someone trying to call me. All right. So because of kind of the recorrection of this time frame of 2020 due to COVID, that was a one-off economic thing that, just was weird, from this standpoint. So prices definitely went up first part of the year, but they have come back, or the sales prices I've stayed about the same, but the amount of homes being sold have come down. Again, we're reaching this normal area, but there's still not enough houses. So those are the major driver, guys. These are my charts and graphs. This is what I love to show people. Look at the data. If we look at this data, there's a reasonable belief to see that we are going to continue to see these home prices increase. And guess what? Interest rates are still very, very low. So if you're asking yourself, is this a good time to buy? You really need to be looking at the interest rates, not the home prices. We can expect home prices to continue to increase in the foreseeable future. I'm talking several years down the road. But how long are interest rates going to stay as low as they are? We're talking 2s and 3s right now, guys. They're more than likely going, at some point, the interest rates are going to have to come back up, which means if we have home prices increasing and interest rates going up, your affordability factor is only going to decrease. So these are the things I like to look at. We kind of have the perfect storm right now with things normaling out and low interest rates. If you've been on the fence, get off the fence. Now is the time to buy. Trust me, ask anybody that bought back in June of 2020 how they're feeling today. So there you have it. The data doesn't lie. I love to show people that because we have the information. If we just know where to look and how to look, you can really help yourself make the right financial decisions. Don't let emotions make those decisions for you. Let data make those decisions. Because again, as I can show you, I actually had this conversation earlier today with someone else that said, hey, remember when you told me last year that I should buy this house? Well, guess what? It's $200,000 more now. So you just really never know, but there are a lot of things you can predict if you have the right information. So I really hope this information was helpful. If you disagree with it, or if you wanted to talk about something else, I'd love to hear your comments or your thoughts. Again, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends. Thanks. Bye.